Good morning, everyone. Today's Mishnah is dedicated in memory of my mother, Zecha Nishmas Shalamas Bas Yaakov Eliezer. We are now in the fifth parak of Mishnah Meiser Sheni, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Now the Mishnah, for a couple of Mishnayos, is going to get off the topic of Meiser Sheni, but get onto a similar one. And that topic is called Ravai, the fourth year. The Torah tells us that when you plant a tree, that the first 3 years of its fruits are called arla. They're forbidden to eat, to benefit from. They're called arla. The fourth year, the fruits are sanctified, similar to Ma'aser Sheni. You have to take them to Yerushalayim to eat, or redeem them into money and send them on Yerushalayim. So Kara Ravai, so that fourth year, its usage, its benefit is limited. And the fifth year is when it goes back to being regular. So in order to prevent people from eating Kerem Ravai, the sages instituted that certain markers should be made. Now, those markers weren't made for the owners. The owners know which of their trees are what, which of their trees are Arla, which of their trees are Ravai, but other people who may be passing by and taking did not. And therefore, we're going to see that the Mishnah says that we make markers to let people know what's going on here and to stay away from it. So the Mishnah says, Kerem Ravai, when it comes to Kerem Ravai, the fourth year of a vineyard. Now, really, there is an argument in the Gemara in Brachas as to whether this fourth year Ravai that we're talking about applies only to a vineyard or to all trees. The halacha is that it applies to all trees. For whatever reason, our accepted text version of the text of the Mishnah use the word Kerem Ravai, the vineyard of a fourth year vineyard. But halachically, it's not only talking about, this doesn't only apply by a vineyard, it applies by all trees, not by vegetables, but by trees. So Kerem Ravai, the fourth year vineyard or the fourth year growth of any tree, Mitzayin say we mark it for people to know that it is such, because it's adama with clumps of earth. It'd be clumps of earth placed next to the vineyard. And that was a sign to people, you should know that this vineyard or this tree is Ravai. It's in its fourth year. You can't just go and take it and eat it. The reason why they chose to mark it with earth is because earth can be analogous to Ravai in the sense that earth as is, you don't eat it. But the benefit of earth is what it produces later. So right now, there's nothing to benefit from it, so to speak, in a sense of ingesting something. But what grows, but eventually there will be benefit because it will produce something you can eat. So that is meant to be the sign for Kerem Ravai, because Kerem Ravai is also something that, if you take it to Yerushalayim or redeem it, you'll be able to benefit from it. So right now it doesn't have the benefit, but potentially it has benefit. Vishal arla b'charsis. Now, if let's say it was arla, it was in the first 3 years, which you can't have any benefit from whatsoever. There too, there would be a mark to let people know that's what it is, and that marker was charsis. Charsis means clay. Clay would be placed next to this arla to notify people this is arla. Why was clay chosen to be a sign for arla? The answer is because clay, you can't really grow anything from it. Okay, there is no kind of eating benefit from clay. Very little can grow out of clay. And so the point is really that when it comes to the point of a farmer, there's no benefit from clay when it comes to his planting, for his producing of crops. The same thing, arla. This is produce, but again, there's no benefit from it because it's totally forbidden. Vishal kavaris. Now here we're veering off again. Once we're talking about markers, we're talking about markers of graves. We're going to talk now about marker of graves that is relevant for a Kohen or a Nazir, people who may not make themselves impure from coming into contact with a dead body. Well, if you step on a grave or step over a grave, that can make you tamei. A Kohen or a Nazir need to know that there's a grave here. So again, they would go ahead and they would make a marker. The marker, b'shal kvaris, of graves, besid. They used lime. Umamacha, they would soak it in water where it would melt, v'shoifech, and then pour it. The point is that lime is white. It represents bones. By actually dissolving it in hot water, you made it even whiter. And then once it was dissolved, you would basically pour it, and that would be the marker to let people know there's a grave here. So this is the first opinion of the Mishnah of what you do. Now, the first opinion here, as we're going to see soon, was we do this all the time. The next opinion argues, Amr b'Shimon ben Gamliel. Shimon ben Gamliel said, when do we say that you make these markers? When do we say that the sages instituted that we have to put up these markers? B'Shvius, during the Shemitah year. What's the difference of the Shemitah year than any other year? Because during the Shemitah year, the Torah allows anyone to walk into anyone's field to take what's growing there. That's part of the law of Shemitah. So that means that people are permissibly taking the fruit without knowing that it's forbidden, because it could be Ravai, it could be Arla. And that is when Shimon Gamliel says the sages said you have to mark it to prevent people from sinning, from eating what's forbidden. But any other year, they're not supposed to be coming and taking these things. They're stealing. This is your property. These are your fruits. If they go in and take them, they're stealing them. And therefore, Shimon Gamliel said, if they're stealing, I don't have to go ahead and go through the bother of preventing them from also not committing the sin of eating Arla or eating from Ravai. They shouldn't be here. If they shouldn't be here, I don't have to make the marker. That's Shimon Gamliel's opinion. The Tanna Kama holds, no, that even though they are wrongfully entering and stealing the produce, we still want to prevent them from sinning further. V'hatznuin manichen es hamois v'oimrim. Tznuim literally means the modest ones. It means the pious people. The pious people who did not want to cause people to sin. Manichen es hamois v'oimrim. They would put down money and say, Kol hanilkat mizeh, whatever is collected from here, Yehei mechula lamois ha'elu, shall be redeemed or be consecrated on these money. Meaning, if we're talking about Ravai, once you detach it, you could transfer its sanctity onto money. You can take off the consecration of Ravai from the produce, from the fruit, and put it onto the money. So the Tznuin were extra careful. When it came, they didn't just make markers. They wanted to do more. They really wanted to prevent people from sinning because they were concerned. Maybe somebody won't understand what the marker means. Maybe they won't notice the marker. And therefore, they went out of their way to make sure that when people came and took these, in case people would come and take these things, that they should be, that they for sure shouldn't, even if without recognizing the marker, they still shouldn't come out sinning by eating this forbidden fruit. So what did they do? So basically, they set aside money, and they said that whatever gets taken, whatever gets detached to be taken, that the sanctity of that should go onto this money. It was an extra precautionary measure that in case somebody didn't recognize the marker, that again, they wouldn't be eating what's forbidden, because once they detach it, that produce becomes deconsecrated, its sanctity is transferred onto the money. This was their extra precautionary measure that they did. Baratunuva says, when did they do this? In Shemitah. In Shemitah, when people were permitted to enter, that is when they did this extra precautionary measure. But from the wording of the Baratunuva, it implies that if it wasn't Shemitah, they didn't do it. It could be that they went ahead and did like the Tanna Kama, that they still made the marker, but to go as far as also to separate money, to be a redemption in case of the fruit that's taken, in case people don't see the marker, that was only done during the Shemitah year when it was permissible for people to actually come in and take it. Excuse me 1 second. Okay, we are in the 6th chapter of the Laws of Lashon Harah from the Chavetz Chaim, and we're on Zion, paragraph 7. V'da, the same way that we wrote in the name of the halachic authorities, the Minat Torah Asr Laham and Divrei Gnus Shemesaprim al Chavereim. that the Torah forbids us to believe the derogatory statements made about our friends. Kain hadin afilu im yedea shadavar shasipar lahu emes. The same thing applies. Let's say you know what happened. You know what happened. Ach yesh b'hem letzadei lakan ulakan. But it can be judged either in a positive way or a negative way. The one telling him about this, judge the person unfavorably. And that's how he's putting him down. The listener should give him the benefit of the doubt, as the Gemara states, and according to many, it is a positive commandment from the Torah to do so. But one who transgresses this, and he doesn't give him the benefit of the doubt, doesn't judge him favorably, and he agrees and he accepts the version or the interpretation of the negative interpretation being told by the person who said it. Not only have you not fulfilled the positive commandment of giving the person benefit of the doubt, but you will also now be considered a person who accepts Lashon Harah. Because being that you didn't judge him favorably, that's why now these words are derogatory in nature. So it comes out that by not giving the person benefit of the doubt, you have now accepted that this person did a negative thing. You've accepted Lashon Harah. Next paragraph, 8. And this is even if we're talking about a middle-of-the-road person. Sometimes, he tries not to sin, but sometimes he stumbles. He's a Beinani, he's a middle-of-the-road person. Sometimes he sins, sometimes he doesn't. That person, we know that this law of the benefit of the doubt can apply to him. We had before some of the details about that. But this is the type of person that giving the benefit of the doubt, judging favorably, applies to. All the more so, if the story was about a God-fearing person, a God-fearing person who typically doesn't sin, that's for him, this commandment, this mitzvah of judging favorably applies even more, because the idea of giving him the benefit of the doubt, judging favorably makes more sense. There's more reason to do so if he is a God-fearing, righteous person. Now, if you didn't do so, but you transgress this and you judge the person unfavorably, and you again agree to the person telling the story about the negative interpretation to what happened, then again, he will for sure transgress the prohibition of accepting Lashon Harah. Have a wonderful day.